So I promised you guys a video of showing you guys the Chevelle round 2. So responsive too. We took the supercharger off, we put twin turbos in the car, and I'm going to go into detail why we did that and the benefits to turbos, what we missed about the supercharger, and a couple other little things we did underneath, inside, and around the car on this whole round of upgrades. So, as you guys remember, the supercharger looked killer. Big blower sticking up out of the hood, the bug catcher scoop, the big throttle bodies. Super fun. It looked amazing, it sounded killer, but it just wasn't a joy to drive. It really wasn't fun. Now, before I go into it, I know that stupid flies. I know that the big 3-hole bug catcher scoop, which is what they call it a bug catcher, or actually ours was a big and ugly. Those are really meant for racing purposes only. They're only meant to sit there and idle and then go to wide open throttle, full throttle. They're not really designed to do part throttle, you know, cruise and stoplight to stoplight type stuff, because a little bit of throttle, the second you touch that throttle, all 3 blades move at the same time, and those 3 blades move a lot of air. So with just barely 5% throttle, the thing wanted to, you know, tear the motor out of the frame rails and go down the street real hard. So little things like loading the car into the trailer, maneuvering, you know, in and out of parking lots, it was really tough to do, and it got old after a while. So I had a couple of turbos laying around that were off of the farm truck and off of my Apache originally, and I went to my pops and said, hey, we got these things laying around. We got the Turbonetics turbos, we got the wastegates, we got the blow-off valve. Let's toss them on the car. Let's get rid of the blower, we'll sell it, recoup some money, and see what this thing will do with turbos on it. So off we were, pulling everything apart, and here she is now with twin turbos. Not only does she have turbos, she's got a hood. And this is my favorite part right here. Hood exit exhaust. Not only does this thing sound killer, it's really not that loud, but these nice, gorgeous, one-off billet exhaust rings really set the look of this car off. It's nice and subtle, but it catches your eye at the same time. And here's another cool feature right here. You see we're missing a headlight on each side. These are the air intakes of the turbochargers. So this car obviously has 4 headlights from the factory. We don't need 4 headlights where we're going. So let's utilize them and gain some power. So here we are under the hood, and this is what we got. These turbos right here are Turbonetics billet ball bearing 69-68 millimeter turbos. So the compressor wheel on the cold side is 69 millimeters, and the turbine wheel on the hot side, the inducer, is 68 millimeters. Each one of these turbos will actually combined, these will move enough air for about 1600 horsepower, which will get the job done, I would say, right? We got our air intakes to the turbochargers tucked in here, going to the headlights, which is pretty trick. Kind of mimics the new Dodge Challenger, Hellcat and Charger kind of idea. And this setup is intercooled. If we go around here, you can peek down. Those are the intercoolers right there. We got 1 on each side. These are just cheap China CX Racing air-to-water intercoolers. I bought these things off of Buddy for $100 for both of them, and they're actually doing pretty dang good. They're cooling the amount of power that we're moving through them, so I got no complaints there. But other than that, the motor is still the same. It is still a Gen 1 small block Chevy. It has the same AFR 220 cylinder heads, Dart, what's it called? This one has the Dart little M block. I keep getting confused with my LS. It obviously has a custom spec John Doherty racing cam in it. And man, this thing is amazing. I do have to give credit where credit's due. Luke and Pat from Access Innovations helped me out quite a bit on this setup, you know, getting the fabrication done, doing the cold side, which was a pretty big pain in the butt, and also the whole front drive assembly where the serpentine belt is. You can probably see it down there. They were a great help. Those guys are awesome. Pat is very, very talented with wiring. You can see all through here. We got everything running through the firewall, going to the ECU, which brings me to the next upgrade. We took out the Holley HP computer, and we installed the Dominator ECU. So going to the Dominator ECU, that allowed us to keep basically everything under one roof. We have boost control, we've got transmission control, we have a bunch of fail safes that we could set up. Basically keep things safe and everything controllable, you know, under one screen. We don't have separate boxes. We don't have another boost control. We don't have other, you know, sensors reading other things to talk to each other. It's just, it simplifies a lot. So that was really, really worth it there. And come back outside. I'll show you some of the external, exterior upgrades we did. If you notice, car looks pretty clean, right? We took all the chrome, well, almost all the chrome off. We're still working on it, like this stuff, but this whole rail up here used to be chrome. We wrapped it. Even down here on the bottom, did a nice little black strip here where it used to have some factory trim pieces. Of course, we got our 2810.5 slick. This is also pretty neat here. I recommend everyone who drag races to do this. This whole section right here, if you can see, we'll get the dust off of it. There's actually clear bra. So we just take wrap or clear bra, we put it all in that little section. That way when the car rolls through the burnout box and starts spinning the tires, it kicks up a lot of nasty stuff and rocks. The clear bra just protects it and keeps it looking really nice and pretty. Going back inside, we upgraded the shifter to a nice precision unit, and that's because we changed the transmission. We changed a lot in the transmission, actually. It's still a 4L80E 4-speed, and the reason we changed a lot was because when we were installing the transmission back up in the car, we had this kind of crappy transmission jack, and it actually fell off the jack while it was about 3.5 feet up off the ground. Almost took my friend's finger off, which was really sketchy. That could have been really bad. But we cracked the case in the transmission. The next thing to do basically is throw it all out and start fresh with a new case. We could save all the internals, but what we ended up doing is we went to Reed and we got one of their SFI approved cases and bell housings. So now all that stuff will pass through tech, no problem, because they do look at that stuff for safety reasons. But anyways, let's get to some power numbers. This car has been on the dyno once, and it has made 575 horsepower when the transmission was slipping. We had one valve body in this transmission before, and it was kind of a fiasco, to be honest with you. It was a total pain in the butt and nightmare to tune for shift points. So we went to Extreme Automatics. We got their one piece, all billet, trans brake valve body, and that solved all of our issues. The car is now a, you know, reverse manual pattern, so we do have to shift it, but it's totally worth it. On the dyno with the slipping transmission, the car made 575 horsepower at the tire. Pretty good if you ask me. With a slipping transmission, that was on 11 pounds of boost. That was the lowest boost that this car could go with the wastegate springs that it has in it. So when we took it to the track, on that amount of boost, it went 10-0s at 131 miles an hour. It's first time out. That's spectacular if you ask me. I mean, a car that weighs 4,000 pounds, you could daily drive it, full interior, you know, big fuel cell in the back, going 10-0s its first time out. That's pretty spectacular. But we took it to Irwindale, took it to the 8th mile, and did some more testing and tuning on it. We got it down into the 6.0 range in the 8th mile. That equates to, you know, roughly a 970, a 980 pass. Again, pretty impressive. This car has enough air and fuel to make right around 1,200 horsepower at the ground. So with that number, this car should be going the 8s, and that's the goal. So without further ado, let's go for a little drive. So I'm gonna have to speak up a little bit for your butt. It drives so smooth, you don't even know it's got turbos on it until you really put your foot in it. So we'll pull over here. make some noise. We'll see how this thing does. We just got to Mexico. Great city of Mexico. It's great. A lot of room for activities here, but I'll do a little launch action, get it up on the two-step and the trans brake, and see what she does. Let's do it. Woo, that's so much fun, man. Never gets old. Alright, let's get out of here. Let's get back home. Thank you, Mexico, for treating us well. So responsive, too. I'd like to ask you guys, if you like what you see, subscribe, like, share with your friends. Whether you're into cars or not, there's going to be some videos coming up here that don't have to do with cars, that have to do with some people. We're going to have some fun, and so you're going to want to stay with friends.